do you manage your baby's schedule? I've tried everything. What is the deal with overtiredness? I'm really worried about my baby. So I'm totally ready for my baby to self-soothe. What is the trick? Are some of these situations familiar? If the answer is yes, I have 3 sleep strategies for you and your baby to be on your way to better sleep from tonight. Hi parents, I'm Laura, a neuroscientist with a PhD in human sleep physiology, and I specialize in baby sleep and well-being. And I'm also the mom of a daughter and 2 kitties. My goal is to bring you easy science so that you can be informed and feel confident in your parenting choices. I believe that similar to what or when you prefer to eat, sleep is unique, and I'm here to help you find your unique family sleep solution. Let's start. Number 1, your baby's sleep rhythm. As I quickly mentioned before, and contrary to popular belief, there is no one schedule that works for all babies of the same age. We are born with genetic sleep predisposition that give us sleep preferences. So, have you heard about night owls, morning larks? It basically means, are you more of an evening person or a morning person? These preferences are in fact controlled by genetic and epigenetic factors. Let's have a quick look at the genetics. Researchers from the School of Medicine of the University of Pennsylvania have studied 3 large genome-wide association studies. These studies together looked at the entire DNA of more than 300,000 people. The results showed that 9 genes were likely responsible for chronotypes. Since these are found in our DNA, it means that we are born with unique sleep preferences. These would influence our rhythm, the easiness to feel tired, and how we fall asleep. Indeed, multiple research teams have found that our body clock actually doesn't really follow the 24-hour Earth rotation timing. In fact, human body clocks can vary from about 23 hours and 30 minutes to 24 hours and 30 minutes. Depending on if you have a short body clock or long body clock, this will affect whether it's easy for the body clock to reset to match the 24-hour clock. To give you an example, people with a longer body clock would tend to be more evening people and struggle to have this reset and thus go to sleep every day at the same time. Since these genes are present from birth, we can assume that these sleep preferences are already present in our baby. And of course, they would affect both the daytime sleep and the night sleep. The sleep process is quite complex, and you probably have heard that there's 2 sides. The body clock is the circadian side, but just remember that babies cannot regulate their own body clock until at least the 2nd month at the very earliest. If you want to support your baby to develop this regulation of their body clock, you can use what we call chrononutrition and other synchronizers. Chrononutrition, the easiest way, is breast milk because there are markers in the breast milk of the time of the day. The second one is to have clear light and dark patterns. I don't want you to be obsessive in this because some babies will nap better or at all in the dark. Now that we've talked about the theory, let's chat practice. Here's how you can start to adjust and experiment with your baby's rhythm. The first thing is that instead of watching the clock, you should watch your baby's mood throughout the day. You might have seen charts or schedule like these before, and if these schedules work for your baby, then that's perfect. Keep doing what you're doing. Just remember that usually sleep schedule changes every about 2 weeks. If these schedules have never matched your baby, please do not worry because the variability and diversity of sleep needs among adults and babies is huge and we don't talk about it enough. My first step would be to check if your baby follows wake windows. Wake windows are simply the term to say the time awake that your baby needs until they will fall asleep again. So have you noticed that I said if? Indeed, some babies follow wake windows, some don't. Among the babies who follow the wake windows, some will be really strict and have a very short period to accept to fall asleep, and others will be more flexible. For the babies who don't follow wake windows, do you notice that they follow the clock? Like once they wake up in the morning, do they always go back to sleep around the same time? Sometimes you will notice other behavior in your baby that are always happening at the same time of the day. So number 3 is really not the most common baby, to be honest. You have babies who are very flexible. Whatever time they wake up in the morning, they tend to go back to sleep around the same time for naps, or sometimes if they don't, they will still go back to sleep around the same time for bedtime. Of course, sometimes you will see a mix of these sleep preferences, but it's really good to have an idea and not to feel feel like it's for sure your baby has to do one type of schedule, because really it's not. Remember that you're the only one who can tell if your child has enough sleep. You can check their moods and really evaluate if something's missing, if they're a bit too cranky, if it's a bit hard every time to go to sleep because it's a bit too late. You know better. Part 2. Is your baby overtired or undertired, and does that even exist? The current state of the literature accepts that the main function of sleep is to support the brain. When we are going without sleep, the brain will be more and more uncomfortable. Through wakefulness, our brain is going to start releasing some substances, and for the more nerdy of you out there, the most common one is adenosine. This is a system that builds this sleep pressure and makes you feel more tired and ready to go to sleep. Once this substance reaches the person's unique threshold, they will fall asleep wherever they are, even if they're watching a really fun TV show on Netflix or driving. It's like our brain's own emergency shut-off button. And then, while we sleep, the adenosine is broken down, and when we wake up, we feel so refreshed most of the time. So, can babies get overtired? Do they have this sleep pressure system? Yes, babies have the sleep pressure system. However, it seems like not all will feel overtired. Several studies have shown that the receptors that binds to the adenosine can bind to other substances, and with those other substances there is a level of sensitivity. So basically, the more the adenosine binds to its receptor, the more there is this tiredness that builds up. But if some substances have different sensitivity, meaning will they attach or not to the receptor, it is likely the adenosine might also have some different level of sensitivity to attach more or less to the receptors. So we can imagine that some people with a higher sensitivity to bind the adenosine will feel more tired than the people who don't. Those who don't might not feel the same level of tiredness and may be able to go past the time that they should actually sleep. I'm sure you noticed in parent groups or parent friends that some babies, when it's their time to sleep, they'll be very cranky. On the other side, you'll have those babies who are like way past their time and they're just like chilling. Anecdotally, as a holistic family sleep educator, I have encountered some babies when they miss their nap, it will systematically increase the number of wakes at night. I would assume that those babies are more sensitive to overtiredness. Other babies have a variable amount of naps during the day, and it appears that their nights are pretty much consistent whether they sleep a lot or not during the day. I would assume that those babies are not as sensitive to overtiredness. Tell me in the comments, which one is your baby? Part 3, probably the most important, your baby's nervous system and their sleep. As much as I wish that I could tell you that there's a magic sleep method or device that can sort out your baby's sleep, we have to remember sleep is the essential function for the brain, but also that the brain controls sleep. So 3 things. We cannot control our baby's sleep. We unfortunately cannot put them on a schedule that would accommodate our lives. And we definitely cannot train them to calm themselves down on their own and fall asleep. Sleep occurs when our body is in the rest and digest mode, and for the nerdy parents, when your body is mostly in parasympathetic activity and not sympathetic activity. And that is because when we sleep, the parasympathetic activity becomes stronger and stronger and stronger. So we have to start there. And we definitely, and you'll probably have experienced that, not fall asleep when we're in work mode. If you think about the solutions, you probably have a notepad next to your bed, or what am I saying? A phone to write your notes so you don't forget, and then you can fall asleep. Our babies are the same. If they're worried about something, they cannot fall asleep, which is why it's really important to remember that while we can't control their sleep, we can control where they sleep, their environment, and how they feel to some extent. Just a reminder, and you probably know this, short awakenings happen between each sleep cycles. Cycles in adults are about 90 to 120 minutes, and in children, it's between 45 and 60 minutes. Every time we wake up, and the same for our baby, our body needs to either stay in the rest and digest mode, so stay calm, or be able to be brought back to this rest and digest mode in order to continue sleeping. Once again, if we wake up and we're in a panic, fight or flight, we will have to calm down before our body can go back to sleep. So let's talk data on babies. In one study on 101 infants, they showed in 3 different groups, breastfed babies, mixed-fed babies, and formula-fed babies, that the same proportion in each group were able to go back to sleep by themselves. Only 10% of the babies in each group could sleep 5-hour stretches at 1 month old, and 45%, so less than half, could sleep 5-hour stretches at 3 months old. At both ages, only 25% of the infants were able to go back to sleep on their own after an awakening some of the time. So what's the difference between the babies who can and the babies who can't? I believe that the difference is simply how their nervous system works. Some babies have a more active nervous system. Some babies don't have their nervous system that activates easily, so when they wake up in the middle of the night, maybe their nervous system stays calm and they can go back to sleep easily. On the other side, some babies have a more active nervous system. They're more aware of their environment, of the light, of the sound. Their nervous system activates even more, and they will need more support to get calm again, get in rest digest mode, and go back to sleep. The brain is very immature in infants. The structure that enables us to calm ourselves down is mainly the prefrontal cortex. The prefrontal cortex is responsible for many functions, including decision making and planning, body awareness and empathy, morality, and the most important, emotion regulation. The beginning of the ability to regulate our emotions starts at 3 years old, and it's very mature still at this time. It will continue until we're 25 to 30 years old. In the meantime, for all the babies or toddlers who cannot go back to sleep because their nervous system is activated during the night, the same as the day, they will need a calm adult to help them compensate for their immature brain, and they will need the support to go back to sleep. Completely normal. So using co-regulation, so that means being in proximity, it depends on the need of your child, close to your body, they will be able to calm down, go back to rest and digest mode, and go back to sleep. Please don't forget that if your child usually wakes up and goes back to sleep easily, but then sometimes they don't, it could be discomfort or hunger. So don't be too quick to night wean. It's completely normal to still eat at night until way past 1 year old. In conclusion, if your baby is not an easygoing baby and they need more support to go back to sleep or even during the day and the night, they're still completely normal. Sleeping close to your child, bed sharing safely, or contact napping are all options that can potentially work for you. And these options often help, I would say, the primary parent, who is often the mom, to sleep more. Remember that sleep crutches don't exist. If you want to breastfeed, if you want to cuddle, if you want to pat your child to sleep, you can use these techniques and vary them as much as you want until they don't work for you, and then you can change them. I'll have lots of content coming up about that. With the numbers that I gave you, most kids need support to go back to sleep. With their immature brain, they are not able to calm themselves down if their nervous system is fully awakened. And no, it cannot be taught, it cannot be trained. Teaching self-soothing is a myth. Depending on a child, from around 3-year-old onward, the emotional regulation becomes possible and it will mature slowly, so be patient. The most important is to follow your baby's lead, experiment, try different things, change things around, because with the development of the brain, your baby might change preferences, and that's completely fine as well. And you're doing amazing. And the more you co-regulate with your child, the more you help them have their nervous system dialed down, the more their body will understand what it means to have the nervous system dialed up, dialed down, and be able to have this path become common. In the future, your child, as they grow, will be able to learn techniques to help them dial up, dial down, and gradually not need you as much. I hope this video was helpful. I will bring more and more content to provide you with practical tips through science. Let me know if there's anything you need to know in the comments, and check those videos. They're the most recent I have. Remember, you're an amazing parent and you're always doing your best. That's all you can do. Take care of yourself. My parents.